Variety magazine published a piece after the first 4 Rush shows in Los Angeles, and the opening line was not what anyone expected from one of the most respected entertainment publications in the world. It read, "Step aside, Geese, circle back later, Turnstile, take 5 and go flaccid, Viagra Boys. There can only be one rock band that is unquestionably and certifiably the cool kids' choice in 2026. And whatever indie cred the rest of you kids may carry, this town ain't big enough for both you and Rush." Rush. The band that has been the punchline of every cool versus nerdy rock debate for 4 decades? The band whose fan base was so famously, demographically lopsided that it became a running joke in popular culture for years. The band whose complexity and commitment to prog virtuosity had always guaranteed them a ceiling, beloved by millions, but never quite in the conversation for what's current. In 2026, Rush is the coolest band in the world, and the reason they're the coolest band in the world has a name. Anika Nilles. And we're calling it the Anika effect. Before we get into the culture, let's establish just how large this thing has become, because the scale of the 50-something tour is genuinely staggering, even by the standards of major legacy rock comebacks. When Rush announced the tour in October 2025, they had 22 dates planned, 22 shows across a handful of cities, a careful, measured return. A let's see how this goes approach from a band that had been off the road for 11 years. The first 22 dates sold out instantly, not in hours, instantly. So they added more dates, and those sold out, and they added more. By the time the tour opened at the Kia Forum in June 2026, the run had expanded to 58 shows across 24 North American cities, with over 500,000 tickets already claimed for the North American leg alone. And then, in February 2026, they announced a further 26 dates across 13 countries for early 2027, the first time Rush will have played Europe since 2013, and the first time they will have visited South America in 17 years. The total tour is now an 86-date global run, wrapping in Helsinki, Finland on April 10, 2027. These are not modest reunion numbers. These are the numbers of a band at the peak of its cultural moment. And that is not what anyone predicted when this was announced. The question in October 2025 was whether Rush could do this at all. The question in June 2026 is whether they can stop. Here is a detail about this comeback that almost nobody talks about, and it's one of the most revealing things about how Lee and Lifeson approached this. When they were planning the reunion, there was a genuine internal conversation about what to call it. Some voices in the conversation pushed for a rebrand. Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, or a new name entirely, something that acknowledged the post-Peart reality without claiming to be the thing it couldn't quite be anymore. Lee shot it down, and his explanation for why is perfect. He said they were twisting themselves into a pretzel, trying to avoid using Rush, and then he said, "What the fuck should we call it, Iron Maiden?" The room laughed, and they went with Rush, not because they were trying to pretend nothing had changed. They have been explicit in every interview that nothing about this is a replacement for what they had with Peart. The tribute collages at every show, the dedication of songs to his memory, the presence of Neil Peart's longtime drum tech Lauren Gump Wheaton, brought out of retirement specifically to build the perfect kit for Nilles. All of that speaks to a band that is carrying its grief forward, not hiding from it. They called it Rush because Rush is what it is, because the music is Rush's music, because Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson are Rush, and because, as Lee put it, there are young musicians who became musicians after their last gig who would love to hear some of those songs live, musicians who never got to see Neil Peart and deserve the chance to hear the catalog live, even if they can't hear him play it. That reasoning, thinking about the next generation of fans, not just the existing ones, is quietly central to everything that has made the Anika effect possible. Here is what Variety noticed at those Kia Forum shows that nobody expected. Not all 15,000 people in that arena each night were old Rush fans. Not even close. The Anika Nilles effect has been, in cultural terms, a portal. Her existing audience, the 485,000 Instagram followers, the hundreds of thousands of YouTube subscribers, the global drumming community that has known her name for a decade, is not the same demographic as Rush's traditional fan base. It is younger. It is more international. It is notably more gender balanced than Rush's historic audience, which had been jokingly lopsided toward men for decades. When Nilles was announced, her followers came. They looked up Rush, they started streaming the catalog, they discovered Tom Sawyer and YYZ in 2112 and Xanadu for the first time, not through a parent's old vinyl but through their own curiosity about the drummer they already loved. TikTok edits of Peart's iconic fills mixed with Nilles clips went viral. Drumming communities on Reddit exploded with analysis of her technique, Music critics who had long since written Rush off as a legacy act started paying attention again. The cultural conversation expanded beyond the classic rock lane that had always been Rush's home, into spaces the band had never previously occupied. Global News in Canada summarized it perfectly. The reviews and the vibes have been so good that Rush is suddenly hipper than they've ever been. And the Variety reviewer, a self-described new convert, put it even more vividly, describing Nilles as possibly the most rapturously accepted fill-in for a legendary departed musician in rock and roll's history of high-risk substitutions. The most telling reaction to the 50-something tour has come not from critics or fans, but from fellow professionals, the people who understand, at the technical level, exactly what they're watching. Matt Log, a veteran studio and touring drummer currently playing with AC/DC, one of the most seasoned professionals in the live rock world, was at the opening night Kia Forum show. His reaction, shared backstage, was specific and pointed in a way that a fan review can never quite be. He said, "A band can rehearse till the cows come home, but when you start doing shows, that's when the band really starts getting good. So imagine this band in a year and a half. Not that tonight wasn't killer." Think about that framing. A drummer who has played thousands of shows, who knows exactly what live performance does to a band, saying, "This is already great, and it is only going to get better." He added, "Of course, when you lose a member of your band like Neil Peart, you think, well, that's irreplaceable. They're done. But when I heard Anika got the gig, I was like, oh yeah, right choice." Mike Portnoy's reaction, watching the live stream at home and crying, saying she honored Neil, Geddy, Alex, the music, and the fans with every ounce of her being, we covered in an earlier video. But it belongs here too, in the full picture, because these are not casual compliments. They are the verdicts of people who understand this world from the inside. And then there is the most understated, most powerful endorsement in this entire story, the blessing from Neil Peart's family. Global News reported that before the plans for the 50-something tour were finalized, Lee and Lifeson sought and received the blessing of Peart's family to bring Rush back. That single detail tells you everything about the care with which this comeback was constructed. In the middle of all of this, the sold-out arenas, the Variety headlines, the TikTok clips, the Matt Log endorsements, there is Anika Nilles herself, doing the job she was hired to do, with a quality of focus and humility that has itself become part of the story. In Classic Rock magazine, she described her approach to Neil Peart's drum parts in a way that cuts to the heart of why this has worked so well. She said, "In these songs, it's less about what I play, whether it's true to the original or whether there's room for improvisation. That comes second. First and foremost, it's about capturing the right feel. That also means immersing myself to some extent in Neil's way of thinking and his playing feel, which is a huge part of this music. Neil is simply part of this music, and you can't ignore that or bring your own ego into it. You have to approach it with respect and a lot of sensitivity. Feel over fills, respect over ego, the music over the individual." And then there's what she said about Peart's specific sonic identity, the details that reveal a musician who did her homework, not just technically, but musically. She noticed his ride cymbal, she noticed his distinctive snare sound, she noticed the melodic approach, the tonal colors, the energy. She studied him not as a puzzle to be solved, but as a musician to be understood. When she first got the call and was invited to play some Rush songs, she was honest with Lee and Lifeson about one thing. She had heard of Rush, but she wasn't a Rush fan. She came in fresh, no nostalgia, no preconceptions, just the music and the question of how to serve it. That freshness, paradoxically, may be exactly why it worked. Here's what the Anika effect actually is, at its core. It is not a story about replacing a legend. Anika Nilles has never claimed to replace Neil Peart. Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson have never claimed that is the goal. The tribute videos play every night. Gump Wheaton is on the road. The songs are dedicated to his memory. Neil Peart is in every show, in the music, in the lyrics, in the atmosphere of reverence that surrounds every performance. What the Anika effect is a story about what happens when you refuse to let grief be the last word. When Rush's R40 tour ended at the Forum in August 2015, and Peart walked off that stage for the last time, nobody in that building knew it was the last time. And when he died in January 2020, most people assumed that was also the last word for Rush as a live band. The chapter was closed. The story was finished. Except Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson started jamming in Ged's home studio. And Lifeson, who had said he never wanted to tour again, found himself having so much fun that he couldn't stop. And a bass tech from a Jeff Beck tour couldn't stop talking about a German drummer he'd seen. And on the 5th day of a session that almost didn't happen, something clicked. And now in 2026, Rush is the coolest band in the world. Variety said so. 500,000 ticket buyers said so. A new generation of fans who discovered them through a 42-year-old YouTube drummer said so. Matt Logg and Mike Portnoy said so. And somewhere in all of that is the real lesson of the Anika effect. Greatness recognizes greatness. The music was always this good. It just needed someone new, someone with fresh ears and no ego and profound respect, to remind the world of what it had. Rush found her, the world found Rush again. And the tour doesn't end until April 2027. If you've been with us for this whole series, thank you. Drop your favorite moment from the 50-something tour in the comments, or tell us what Rush song you'd most want to hear live. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.